Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here I will present a material about how to convey an effective and professional presentation. But before that, let me know from you about how many times did you ever present or convey a material in a presentation? 3 times? 7 times? 20 times? Or much times maybe? So, do you think that you have done your presentation in an effective way? Most of you give me answers that you haven't done the presentation effectively. So here I will give you some tips about how to do a presentation in a professional way. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Risma Gressilya. I'm in fourth semester majoring in English education from Universitas PGRI Madiun. Alright, my presentation today will take about 10 to 15 minutes to deliver the material. And if anyone has a, a question and want to ask a question about this presentation, please keep the question first and then deliver the question at the end of the presentation session. Alright, let's move to the first point. The first point that will be discussed is about beginning or opening. So here I have 2 points. It's about brainstorming and also introduction. Brainstorming. The brainstorming, can be done by asking a simple questions to the audience that are still related to the presentation material or the topic material. This is like I did before, like I did at the beginning of this presentation by asking you 2 simple questions earlier. So, this brainstorming is aimed to recall the audience knowledge and to recall their knowledge about the material that will be delivered. So that is hoped that the audience can understand and be enthusiastic to the material or our presentation. Of course, of course, this is a fairly important part in a presentation. And then second point is about introduction. Introduction. In introduction session, we have to introduce ourselves, introduce ourselves first. So that is the audience will know who is the host that bringing the presentation, who is the host that deliver the presentation. We have to introduce ourselves first. And the second is we have to also introduce our topic material or um, what is what will we discuss in this presentation. We have to introduce that. And we have also to tell the audience about the presentation rules, about our presentation rules, about how many times it will take times, and uh, how the audience can asking a question that is about brainstorming and introduction. The next is about language. Here, the use of language of in a presentation is we have to use a formal language and try not to use slang words because we want to make an effective academic presentation. The use of language here must be considered and we have to pay attention to it. There are 2 notes here. That is, we must use a formal language but easy to understand. Then the choice of diction is conveyed in conveying must be adjusted to the audience present. And the second is when delivering a material or a topic, we have to use a clear intonation so that the audience will be understand what we say or what we discuss. Next is about a visual aid, body language and voice. So here, visual aids are sorry. This is a visual aid is about what we use to help us present material to the audience. I have 3 points here. The first is the visual aid must refers to the PowerPoint material. So we have to use a visual aid that still related to our topic, still related to our material. And the second is about points that have power. This just means that when we convey on when we present a present in a presentation, don't use a slide that is full of sentences. So we have to make it short or just make it a point of the material that will be discussed. So this is a PowerPoint text, not a power sentence text. So we have to make it a point so the audience will enthusiastic and not bored when we convey the material. And then the third point is about make sure that the use of visual aids here can be seen to all audiences in the presentation room. So we have to make sure that the text or the size of text in our slide is not too small, neither too big. So we have to make sure that all audiences can see our slide, can see our material in slide material. And then about body language and voice. Here I have 3 points. It's about hands gestures, eye contact, and make sure our voice can be heard by all audiences. We have to use clear voice, not too fast, neither too slow. Here, why we have to use hand gestures here, and eye contact is it will help us to convey material. It will help us to convey material to the audience. When the audience is difficult to understand our material, the body language here, hand gestures, and also eye contact here can help us to tell the audience that this material, what is the purpose of this material? It will help us to convey the material to the audience so they can easy to understand what we talk about. And also it is help to build chemistry between host or presenter and audience. So this presentation doesn't feel monotone if we use like a body language, like hand gestures and also eye contact. So this is a fairly important part. The presentation will not be monotone if we use two of both of this. All right. Okay. This is the last part or the last points that will be discussed in my presentation. It is about ending and also question. In ending, Uh, that means that it is at the end of the presentation session. So this is means that the presentation that this is means that all material have been delivered to the audience. This is the ending. And at the end of this session, we have to try to give a summary uh, a summary of the topic, or we have to or we can uh, to give a suggestion to the audience regarding to the topic to the topics that have discussed. So besides giving a summary, we also can give our suggestion to the audience. Uh, and the note here is the summary that we give to the audience must match with the purpose of presentation or material. So here we have to give a summary that is a point or what we say. This is still match with the purpose of presentation of the purpose of topic in this presentation. The last is about question. Uh, in this question part, I have 2 points here. It is about the first point. We have to try our best to catch up all the questions from the audience. Uh, we have to try to catch all the questions from the audience. But with note, we have to adjust to the presentation time or the presentation rules. So if there is too much question, just you can just choose 3 or 4 questions in one session of presentation. It is adjust to a presentation time to your presentation times or your presentation rules. And the second point is about if we get a very long question from the audience, we have to sum up the question. We have to shorten. We have to take the point of the question from the audience. And then we have to make sure again, we have to asking again to the question to the audience. This is aims that this is aims to uh, match the what we say clarify this aims to clarify the question to the audience, so there there will be no misunderstanding. I will say again. So if we have very long question, we have to shorten the question, we have to sum up the question, and then clarify or make sure again to the audience. And then after that, we can answer the question from the audience. Okay, so I think that's all the material that I can convey about how to do an effective academic presentation. And the conclusion or the summary here or the summary for from my presentations here is that to be able to make a professional presentation, we have to pay attention to the sequence of steps that must be carried out. So we have to pay attention to it. The sequence of steps that must be carried out in a presentation. So it is also takes a lot of study, a lot of practice to be able to master the material so that the topic can be well delivered to the audience. Okay, I think that's all of my presentation today. If you have something to ask, please write a question in the comments box below so that I can read and try my best to answer your question. Okay. Thank you for your attention and participation of my presentation today. Wassalamualaikum